and welcome to the Double Fall Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Will. I'm accompanied by Hubbs from Barstool Sports. Hubbs, the final we all were waiting for, the matchup we all dreamed about. All we wanted was some good tennis, and my God, did those two guys not disappoint. I thought Mardy Fish, the former world number 7, he has that Netflix documentary, Untold Breaking Point. Highly recommend that documentary, especially if you want to see, mental health and how he was able to overcome everything with tennis and everything like that. So definitely go watch that. But he said on Twitter, toughest sport in the world, no clock to run out, no timeouts to call, no subs to come in for you, no one to sit there and tell you what to do. This is as good as it gets. And my God, was this as good as it gets for tennis?
Yeah, tennis is as unique as it gets for all those reasons, and people. I call it one of the greatest sports comebacks ever, given like the stage of where the stakes involved and who he was up against. I think it was one of the greatest sports comebacks ever. And people will throw out obviously 28-3, which is right up there and probably
Yeah.
still number one. But the thing with 28-3, like there's still a clock there. Like
Yeah.
it was almost like if 28-3, if like basically if the Falcons could have kicked the field goal to end the game at halftime, like to make it 31-3. But like that's not the case. You're still going. You still got a whole half of the game left, no matter what. Like that match could have ended basically at halftime. Like that's the equivalent to that. And Carlos said no. And not only did he have to stave off 3 championship points, one of which clips the back line.
Oh yeah.
And he looked deader than dead. And so not only he has to stave off that, but then he has to break coming back. And now, granted, that's the beauty of that kind of hold is it almost works as a break in a way, right? Like, mentally, especially with the changeover coming, where now Sinner's got to sit there for 90 seconds, whatever it is, and think like we were almost home. Like I should just be celebrating right now, but instead this bastard still won't quit. He doesn't die, and now I got to serve this out. And I'm not feeling maybe the greatest. I'm starting to get a little winded here. Fatigue is setting in. He's got that 4-hour thing in the back of his brain, and Carlos just does the damn thing. But then it could have ended still in that set. That only leveled it.
Yeah. I mean, there was a moment there where I was like, are we about to get 3-0 Jannik and he's about to win Roland Garros without 100%. Dropping a set? Like, that was a possibility. After he won those first 2 sets, he broke to start the third. And then Carlos, he broke immediately back and then broke again. But to his credit, man, like, hold your head up high, Jannik. This is easily, like, yes, it's a loss, but, like, both guys won today. Like, can we please just give both of them trophies? Because they just put on, like, an absolute show.
Yeah,
and I think we said in our preview, like, I don't see any set like being a double break or being a blowout. And literally every single set was like high quality drama. Like these guys were so good and it was so hard to close out the set. I feel like the only way that they could end a set was like either in a tiebreaker or on a break. And that happened like for 5 hours.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, so basically I was like playing out how I was going to react in my head throughout the match. Like, and the roller coasters obviously discard previous thoughts. But like, I was looking back at that first set for Carlos and be like, he's going to be kicking himself when he loses this and be like, you really blew that. Like, you had so many. If it was Federer-esque in a way of blowing so many break points, because no one was better at that, I feel like, than Fed. He would get the most break points, but he would also blow a bunch of them. And I want to say, off the top of my head, 1 of 7 or something in that first set.
Like that.
And he does have the break, but then Sinner comes right back. And it felt like Sinner stealing that first set really was going to be like Carlos needed, especially to push this deep, Carlos needed that first set. And then when Sinner wins the second set.
He started with the opening break, and then it was kind of just like cruise control. We're like, whoa, why is Sinner so in control here?
Right. It's 3-0. And Carlos does level that set later on. And it's like, okay, here's go time. But Sinner's like, nope, I'm taking this tiebreak. And it's like, damn, this just isn't in the cards today. Like, Sinner is just that good. Credit to him. This is an all-time great tournament performance. He's going to win this without dropping a set. And then, to Carlos's credit, just fighting it tooth and nail for that third set. Gets broken serving for the set. You're like, come on, we can't even let this. This guy's a true machine.
Yeah.
Like, you just give me something. Like, at least let us hit this over. I know we both had the over. Like, let's get that over. We can't even get that. And then Charlie comes right back with a break to love, and then it's game on from that point. But even then, once he pulls off the crazy comeback to the fourth set, Sinner starts the tiebreak up 2-0.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, this guy doesn't crack. Like,
Oh.
he truly has such a goldfish brain and, like, just totally flushes things out of the way. But then Alcaraz's greatness pushes to a fifth, and then all of a sudden you get that. I don't know if he tweaked something or if it was cramping after that initial break to start the fifth. And then at that point you're thinking, all right, Carlos going to cruise into his credit. Like, he started to initiate those drop shots were killing him early on. I couldn't believe he kept deploying them one after the other. They were either poorly timed or poorly executed. And maybe it's just Sinner had more legs to cover the ground. But then they start to really work in the fifth. It's like, hell yeah, he's taking advantage of him not being fully fit here, and that's brilliant, because in tennis, how many times do you see someone laboring on the other side and you take a step off, you take a step back, and then all of a sudden Sinner snaps out of it, or whoever, and they win the match. Now, kind of to that credit though, Carlos couldn't get that second break. I was begging for him to get the double break, and screws, but Sinner wouldn't allow it, and that obviously opens the door for him to then level and then force this tiebreak. And it's just such a roller coaster in the best way. And it was two guys playing at the peak of their powers, not even at the prime of their lives yet, which is crazy to say.
Scary.
Like these guys you really don't hit that until you're usually 26, 27. I feel like you enter your tennis prime. So these guys are, still years from that. And, it was immense theater. It was as epic as it gets. It had people texting me who, are not usually texting me about tennis, or I didn't even know they knew it was a sport. And they're like, what is happening? And then other people would be like, is this the greatest thing ever? Because it feels like the greatest thing ever. And I was like, yeah, it pretty much is. Like, there's two other matches pretty much that you can, unless you want to go back to the 80s, right? There's one match in the 80s. But then if you obviously Fed Nadal at Wimbledon, and then
the 2012 Australian Open.
Nadal Djokovic in Australia. And then I guess you could also say the quarterfinal between these two guys, the U.S. Open a few years ago. But not the stakes wise, obviously U.S. Open, but the others two were finals. I don't know, man. It's right up there. I know a recency bias, wants me to, if the fear of recency bias wants me to pull back and be like, okay, let's take a second. But honestly, with the shot making and the swings and that it might be.
It had everything.
Yeah.
I know, because I was at my friend's house for her birthday on Saturday. We all slept over, and I just turned the match on in the morning, was watching it. And then by the end of it, everyone's like, this is incredible. This is the best tennis match ever. We were all watching the end, rooting for Carlos to come back. The entertainment and how both these guys, for how epic this moment was and the crowd going crazy, they're not human. How are you not affected by this environment? I thought, Alcaraz did such a good job of, when he did get that hold, get the crowd involved, because now put the stakes up, make
a lot of fingers to the ears, a lot of just standing there staring at them, be like, you guys gonna get louder or what?
Yeah, and I think that's maybe something that Jannik can do a little bit more, because he was the crowd was just going crazy based off the quality, and then Sinner was just giving a fist pump, where Alcaraz was kind of let me hear it, let's get in this guy's head.
Yeah, so the closest I'll ever see Jannik do that is he'll turn and face the crowd in a stoic pose. He didn't really do it yesterday, but he'll do that, and that will be his way of are you not entertained? Without, but he could definitely do a little bit more. I like their contrasting styles to that though. One guy's a machine, one guy's a robot, and the other guy is just this exciting, charismatic fella who hits these amazing shots. It's just, I don't know, it's an immovable object. I'm going to mess it up. An unstoppable force against an immovable object. It's basically that. Yeah. And the unstoppable force is Carlos's unwilling ability to die. He refuses to die. And Sinner's is, I'm never going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's incredible, the fact that this isn't a fluke matchup. We're going to get this 15 more times in a Grand Slam final, something like that. Because honestly, if you look at it, there's a, could you imagine being Zverev watching this at home? Be like, I can't do that.
It sends a message to the rest of the tour. Be like, I got to get that good? Is that what it's going to take to win a Grand Slam? I got to go. And that's what I was we obviously were going into it rooting for a good match. But tennis is also you don't know what you're going to get. You have that ability where it could be 3-0 Jannik. It could go 5. We're going to root for the best possible match. and we got it. And tennis gods, they turned off injuries, which was a concern if it got later in the set. And I thought Sinner, his resilience and his ability to keep fighting and believe in that fifth, because Carlos finally got the lead and then Sinner broke back. And now it's like, wait a second, do I want Jannik to win this? Like, these guys both, I saw a lot online where guys were like, I don't really like Sinner because the whole, the suspension and everything, but he's like, I'm a fan now. Like, how do you not appreciate the fight that these guys put in? And I thought this was a culmination of just like, you don't get that good on accident, and especially in tennis. Like, for me, trying to get to like an amateur level, I recognize like the effort and everything these guys put in to get their bodies to be able to play for 6 hours at the peak tennis level. So I think we just got to tip our hats to these guys. This is going to be an inspiration, hopefully, like for the other guys on tour, be like, oh, I got to get this good. Like, yeah. I thought I was close, but I'm not close. Like, if you're Musetti, Draper, even Djokovic, you're like kind of worried. Like Holger Rune, you're like, this is like, I'm not there yet,
No, if you're Novak, you're like, all right, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, you're like, when's the Olympics coming around when it's 2 out of 3 sets? Because I'm not going 5.
Yeah, it's just a different world. And honestly, anyone who argues best of 5 tennis isn't what we should like. Sorry. There you go. Yeah. I think Ben Rothberg is very pro that, like best of 3. Sorry, there's nothing like this.
Yeah, and it's
in the fourth set where he's staving off those championship points and then trying to break. I'm sitting there, and I'm not trying to make any sound because I told you before we started the pod, like that was day 1 of me getting a puppy. Like we're like this guy fell asleep during the fourth set or the whole fourth set. So we got to teach him, what to watch and what not. My fiance's asleep because she didn't get much, So I'm there just trying to stay quiet, but my heart rate was like 190, 200 for like about a 15-minute stretch where like he pushes it to a fifth, and then she comes up and he wakes up, and she's like, "Are you okay?" Like I thought, why is the match still going on? It's 2 o'clock. Like this started at 9 o'clock, you said, and I'm just sitting. I hadn't moved the muscle in literally like 4 hours, and I tweeted like I felt like I aged 10 years during that. It was everything you could ask for, man. It was like how often does something deliver like that? Like, because there is the fear, right? Like Sinner's that good, and Carlos has these moments where he dips in level, and Sinner really doesn't.
Yeah,
and yet somehow, some way, he found it. It's crazy.
They had me legitimately jumping out of my seat, and I was over with my friends all watching. There was parts where like we went outside, and I was on my phone, and my friends were like, "This is still going on." Like you said, I was like, "Dude, this is." And even my other friend, he barely watched. He's just getting into tennis. He's like, "Yeah, this is the greatest thing ever." Like these two guys. It's going to be, Federer and Nadal, where they are just creating so many new tennis fans. And I feel like people knew Alcaraz because he's been doing crazy shit for the past like 3 years. He had his moment where he took down, Djokovic, Nadal in Madrid, got on the map. He won the US Open at 19, crazy 5 sets comebacks with that one as well. So I felt like, Sinner didn't, like he wins slams. He has 3 slams, but they're not like crazy spectacles. It's more like a clinician and him like dissecting guys and you can't do anything, where Carlos is a showman and he absolutely puts on a show. Like if you watch his tennis matches, you're in for a ride. Oh, yeah. And that's just kind of, their styles, like you said, how they contrast. But man, you can't not like these guys. And I don't know who catches them. And I think this was maybe, you said the greatest matches of all time, but definitely the best Roland Garros, because we had Nadal absolutely dismantling people once he got to the finals for the past 20 years. So now it's like, oh, I am absolutely looking forward to Roland Garros. I think the clay added such a good dynamic where the longer points and having to use that variety and the craziness and the quality, like, oh man, there's like not enough words to describe it besides like these guys aren't on this planet. Like that was from another planet.
There are people who like, dick on French Open a little bit with clay and how it's like, this is just such a weird form of tennis. But what it does is creates the opportunities for matches like this with the rallies. Like you can't get a rally like this at Wimbledon. You can't get like this many. Like it just doesn't work like that.
Agreed.
So you can get great matches, of course. We've seen plenty, but you cannot get these grueling points for 5 sets like this. It just doesn't work like that. Yeah, man, that was awesome. And, it's not even a hot take anymore or anything. But if there was any fear, obviously there was a lot of fear when Nadal, Djokovic, turned away from the sport, how is it going to survive? Because those are the 3 best players ever. We're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's the message, is we're going to be okay. Tennis is in good hands as long as these 2 guys, because I was also looking forward to, the parity after the big 3 retires, being like, oh, maybe more guys are going to have chances to win these big tournaments and the slams. And now I'm like, it might be okay if it's just these 2 battling it out for every Grand Slam going forward. I think they've won the last 6 Grand Slams between the 2 of them. And I'm okay with just Jannik winning every hard court and Carlos winning Roland Garros and Wimbledon. Like, if they just go 2-2 every year,
but within that though, like, it's not like they're going to be locks to win those slams. Like,
oh no way,
either one can. Like, Novak, Carlos has beaten him at the U.S. Open. I'm sure Jannik is going to get better on grass. I'm sure he's going to challenge him soon enough. Obviously, it seems like they're fairly dead even on clay. Carlos has to get better in Australia. I feel like that's where, like, they're kind of polar opposites.
Yeah.
With Jannik in Wimbledon and Carlos in Australia, and at some point they'll get closer there. Like, and the U.S. Open and Wimbledon will be dogfights. And it's like, it's as good as it gets. And F1, I always wanted to get into F1, but Max Verstappen literally won every race for like 3 years, and it got really boring. And in a way, tennis was like that before these guys with Novak. No one was challenging Novak. It was very rarely would he get challenged at a slam.
Yeah,
and Wimbledon was a straightforward contest for the most part. It helps when there's one other guy there to really challenge and really make it fun. And, you just know, barring injury, when you look back 20 years from now, there will be a Wikipedia page just dedicated to Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz rivalry. And it will be, the scroll bar will be this tiny, and it will just be endless words just documenting how many matches these guys played and tried to kill each other at during slams. And I feel very fortunate to be a 31-year-old adult and be in the very beginning stages of it.
Yeah, because I'm 20, about to turn 28, but we saw, Federer and Nadal, what they turned into.
Yeah.
And now we have the recognition to see, like, oh, this rivalry is different. Where Nadal and Federer, at Wimbledon, when Nadal lost to Federer in the 2006, 2000 Wimbledon, he's like, oh, he's not there on grass yet against him, but he's getting there.
Yep.
And then that turned into like the 2008 when Nadal, and debatably the best match of all time, beat Federer in that 5th set. And now we're kind of getting that with Sinner Alcaraz. It's like, oh, last year Sinner was close. This year he was closer. He had championship points. If they face next year, like, I might take Jannik, like, just as like the narrative. Like, he's getting closer and he's right there.
Yeah, I think some people were saying like this is basically Nadal's 07 Wimbledon, right?
Exactly.
Like, next year he breaks through.
Yeah.
I think it's great that this happened the way it did in the most epic way, because now when they are again doing this on another slam or this slam again, you're getting that audience. Like, people are like, oh my god, they're doing this again. Count me in. I'm clearing my schedule. So that's cool, man. Yeah, that was truly everything we could have wanted.
I agree. It's just going to propel the sport forward. And now, tennis doesn't sleep. We're already in grass season. I'm already getting on Twitter like the grass season.
Yeah, I told my fiance last night. I was scrolling Instagram and Fritz and Shelton, they were messing around at the ball on grass. She goes, "How? What are you talking about?" And then today there's like 3 tournaments on grass. Yeah,
I know, it's insane. It doesn't sleep. That's why we love the sport. These guys are putting in the work and giving us entertainment 11 months out of the year. And I don't want people to also get unrealistic expectations when they turn on a tennis match, because it's not always going to be on that.
Is it always like this?
Yeah,
it's the greatest ever? And it's like, honestly, when
can be.
They don't really have, these guys don't really have duds when they play.
Yeah.
Unless there's injuries or whatever. But obviously a Grand Slam final does not always set records for length of time and have these swings. But in terms of like Carlos and Sinner, there's not too many duds, I feel like.
Yeah, every time they play, it's like either 3 sets and a 2 out of 3, or they go 5 at a slam. Like, because they are so close. It's like the way they counter.
Even when it's straight sets, they're pretty tight. Like, for the most part. But I'm looking at their quick head. Their most recent head-to-head. Obviously, Alcaraz got him in Rome, but throw it out the window, because that's Sinner's first tournament back. Before that, you got to go back to. I don't know, what is this? October 2023, where Sinner got him in Beijing for a straight sets match. And then Carlos got him in Indian Wells, a few months before that, in straight sets. But like, there's not many straight sets. It's really just wars for the most part.
Yeah. And it's like, imagine like being those guys, you're like about to step on the court and you just know what you're signing up for. It's like, I need to be fully prepared in my body. I'm going to war against these two guys. And that's why I always equated like tennis. People always said it's similar to boxing. I think it's like UFC, where they're in a cage and you have all the tools, your full body, everything at your disposal. It's like, who's getting out on top? And yesterday it was Carlos Alcaraz who proved why his ceiling is probably still the best. I think Sinner is like, it's 1A, 1B right now. Yeah. Sinner's still going to be the number one seed going into these rankings. So I can't look forward to grass season and Wimbledon and US Open more enough. And I'm just thankful for these guys to put in the work and put on a show for us because we are not worthy.
In a way, that match was a microcosm of Carlos Alcaraz just in general, because what makes Sinner the dominant world number one rankings points wise, it would take a lot for him to not become world number one, just of how consistent he is at these tournaments. He's always in finals, and Carlos doesn't always maintain that peak, right? So that's the first two sets, not maintaining that peak. Then the third set, once the third set ends, you get peak. And Sinner can't match the peak. But Sinner's consistency allows that to go 5 sets and allows Carlos to be pushed to the brink. It's just, that match in itself was a microcosm, just how these guys operate on a daily basis on the tour.
Yeah. And they had to play for 5.5 hours, but we also put in the work to watch it for 5.5 hours. So good job to us as tennis fans.
How about Sinner? I mean, it's such a brutal aspect of tennis that almost they may need to go away with. But like, Sinner has to give a thank you speech after all that, in front of the whole. And to his credit, really good speech. Didn't cry, didn't offer any weird Sabalenka quotes from the day before. Just checked all the boxes of who he had to thank, got out of there. But of course, he sit there and sit through it, and everyone's taking these pictures of him, and it's tough for him to not look bad in those moments. But I felt like he looked as good as he possibly could, and he seems a little like, I think him and Carlos get along pretty well. They're not best friends. I don't think they're like best friends like Fed and Nadal always had this when they were playing. I don't think they were truly boys. But they were like they definitely got along, and they had
an appreciation for each other.
Yeah, but I think they were best friends. I think that's a similar thing that Carlos and Sinner have here. But you can see like Jannik was like, man, like you deserve that. Like he appreciated that.
Yeah, Federer, I think he said it regarding Rafa. He's like, we knew when we were stepping onto that court, we were the ones writing history.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what just happened with Sinner and Alcaraz. If these two people or these two players step on the court, they are the ones with tennis history in their hands. And I thought it was, I felt the emotion in my body watching the relief of Carlitos when he did get stretched out and hit that forehand winner to take the match, and then just full body collapsed on the clay. And you're like, the amount of focus and energy and attention to put in for 5.5 hours, like I can't even imagine that feeling of winning for Carlos. So that also is like, what you said with Sinner, it's like, dude, keep your head on high. Like, no one is faulting you for losing this match right now. If anything, they're appreciating your work and everything. And I think Sinner, he's obviously not going away. This isn't like Tsitsipas. He might never get a chance to win a Grand Slam again. Like, he's going to be in these matches, in these deep slams for maybe every single slam.
Yeah, I think most athletes would lose in that fashion, and it would break them mentally, like moving forward. I think Jannik just uses motivation to get better.
I'm more scared for what this becomes for Sinner, because now he has that in the back of his mind where he's already crushing everybody, but now he might not let anybody ever get a game. Like, he's going to be like bageling people out the wazoo every time he steps on, because he's like, I need to be in peak form to beat Carlos. So.
Yeah, I wonder if the one thing he really focuses on is the fitness. How do I extend my fitness? How do I make sure my level can't drop after 4 hours? Because everyone knew that 4-hour stat was coming, and it still is alive. He still has not won a single match when it's gone more than 4 hours. So, and then also the flip side, Carlos, his 5-set record. When what 13-1 now, I think it is. The only loss is to
like Berrettini, I think, but that was when he was like 18 or 19 at the Australian Open, and that's also Carlos's worst surface too. Like,
but everything else, it's like 5 sets you lose. I can go for 10 hours, and it honestly felt like that. Like,
I think they could have
that tiebreak. I don't think Sinner could have. I think Carlos
Sinner can. Yeah, Carlos can.
But the 10-point tiebreak where every point seemingly is better than the previous, I was just like, that's when I was standing and fist pumping and cheering because it was just, oh my god, it's 2-0, it's 4-0, it's 7-0. What's happening? Like, and then Sinner wins a few points. You're like, okay, that was on his serve, but if maybe Carlos just stopped the red line. Nope. I'm just going to red line in the biggest moment of
seriously. Oh, man. It was all time. I mean, we could just talk about how awesome this match was for probably like a week straight, but I can't wait.
I'm wearing his, for Secret Santa last year, Francis got me Carlos Alcaraz's Nike jacket. So this felt like a fitting day to wear that.
Oh, that is a sweet kit. I thought Nike was definitely a big winner for how much eyeballs this got. And I thought
TNT.
Yeah, and TNT, dude. Look at that investment. It's paying off,
First year's worth $650 million. Now,
literally.
They're free.
Agreed.
And I thought they did a really good job of hosting the event and showcasing, and it was just a very big win for TNT. But yeah, Nike as well.
Agreed. Yeah, and a big win for tennis in the grand scheme of things.
Oh yeah.
Hubbs, though, thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining me the past couple of rounds. I wouldn't want to talk with anybody else about these two players in these matches, so I do appreciate you coming on to the Double Fall Pod and talking with tennis with me, though.
For sure, man, and we got some winners in there, so...
Exactly, yeah, we kind of nailed our picks. Look at that.
Pretty good. There was a moment where I was like, all right, I'm not going to get the Carlos money line. Maybe I get the over, and then we got them both. So
yeah, Carlos, in the grand scheme of things, I'm kicking myself for not betting him live every time. But I also was just like, I don't want to ruin this. Rooting one way or the other. I was just having like so much fun. I was like, I don't care if I win a bet. I want to. This match is a win of a bet, Yeah,
it's added bonus.
And I hit the over, so I was like, this is all cake. I don't want to risk it and get even more deflated by the result. But incredible match, incredible tournament. Hopefully an incredible year of tennis on the horizon. Thank you guys all for listening. Don't forget to like the video if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you want to see more tennis content going on this year. And thank you, Hubbs, for coming on again.
Absolutely.